So me and I are going to try to go through this puddle here. Ready? Ready?
Yep, make sure you're taking the... I am. Okay, what do I do now? Oh no.
Okay, we just finished the rough trail. I actually cleaned some of the mud and gunk off the motor, but the splash guard that broke off last time and I put back on and came off again would have been nice to have, but didn't have it. So we'll see how well this motor holds up to, how everything holds up to all this mud that we just went through. But actually it did real well. Notice the shocks would bottom out a few times on some of the big bumps, but maybe they can be adjusted or upgraded. Everything else went great. I got covered in mud and the bike did, but didn't stop working. We just got home from the trail. That it's a rather bumpy ride and muddy. Went through water, lots of mud, fairly deep. I'd say it came up, you know, at least to the bottom of the motor. And obviously, as you can see the motor here, it kind of caked it. I wiped some off before I left, but it had that caked on there. Here, there's probably some in the battery compartment. I'll take, no, it looks pretty good in there, but I'll take that apart and video that later. The bags that came with it, at least in the back, are covered with mud. It's all because this is the mud guard that comes with it, and it does not stay on very well, and once it falls off it's extremely difficult to get back on. So after this trip I believe I'm going to do drill some holes just large enough to get some self-tapping stainless steel screws into the side here, and hopefully that will hold it, because previously there was just a bolt a nut on the inside holding the bolt on, and it's nearly impossible to get both of those in there with that chain and everything unless you took everything apart. I managed to do it once and don't want to do it again. Overall, it did very well. The shocks bottomed out, and I'm looking now here, maybe there's something wrong here, and that's why I started noticing the shocks bottoming out. So there's one thing that bumpy trail did to it. Hopefully that'll fix. I'll update the video later today once I look everything over. This light here is burnt out or just not working. Not sure, I haven't troubleshot it yet, but it stopped working sometime after, just shortly after my first video, I believe. The brakes, I've adjusted them once, but they definitely need to be adjusted again. The chain on the back I've adjusted once. It's actually not too bad after this ride. I expected it to be a lot worse, but it's good that I discovered that shock. We'll see what we can do with that to fix it. And let me take this for a quick spin to give everybody an idea of, well, how it sounds now. I'll stop this and come back with another video to see how it sounds after all the mud and sand and water. I just took the seat off. It's held in place with just two plastic and looks like brass nuts. This is what it looks like without the seat, and the front handles folded down. These handlebars fold in as well. If you want, you know, they fold in on both sides. So I haven't really cleaned it up much. I just wiped off the deck of it a little bit. I fixed the shock it took me about, I'd say 10 minutes. It wasn't long. Undo this bolt here, loosen this one so that there's no tension when you're trying to screw this cap back on. Otherwise you'll cross thread it. But that was fairly easy and quick. So hopefully it's gonna work a little better there. And I'll edit this to go with the other videos and try to make it as clean as possible. So the trail was very bumpy. I haven't done anything to maintain, you know, adjusting anything on this since the last, since I'd done the brakes. That's, you know, right around the first video. But I did notice a lot of bolts, screws, whatever, coming very loose. So may use some Loctite on them or some lock washers or something. But it's not bad. But you probably need to, you know, make sure that you've tightened everything. Maybe keep some tools with you that fit this, an Allen wrench and a couple other wrenches that are the size of the nuts here. If you're going to be on a long trip and you might get stuck somewhere, you want to make sure you can repair it. But that was the other thing I want to say, was just a lot of the bolts and stuff came loose. So I'm going to go over the entire thing, tighten them up, see if I need to pull the batteries out. Now they have the seat off. You can see the batteries. They don't look bad, actually. Just clean it up in there and I'll be fine. It doesn't look like there's any water or anything. So most of the water and mud was on the motor, which again is right here. These are the batteries that I installed myself, new ones, the ones that were shipped from China, and they just burn up. Leaving the charger on overnight or for a couple of days. I leave the charger on these batteries. I've left it on for 4 days in a row without coming back in and checking it, and they've been fine. Been working great. But everything else working pretty good. It's a lot of fun, especially on those bumpy trails. If I didn't have my 4-year-old with me, it would have been a lot more fun. You can go a little faster and do a little bit more jumping, but it's a lot of fun. Just a lot of little quality issues, but nothing major. And the most major thing was the batteries that had to be replaced. So that's something to consider. Okay, found the key. I'm gonna go ahead and ride it with this shock as it is right now real quick. I did notice something else when we turned it off and on. This, as you can see, this is coming loose now too. Not a big deal, but just another one of those things that coming apart on it. But overall it's been great. The build on this thing is really strong, very thick steel. The motor's good. It doesn't have the original batteries. Like I said in the previous video, those melted by leaving it charging overnight. These I leave charging overnight and there's no issue. Of course I had to buy new batteries, so that'd be an issue for a lot of people wanting to buy one of these. Overall it's been good. We'll see if we can fix this shock. We've got to order a new light, so in those instances I think some of that stuff's kind of cheaply made. Maybe some quality issues there, but let's take this for a quick spin. Hopefully you can hear it. It's not making too much noise. I think the noise I'm hearing is just the sand in the chain and maybe on the disc brakes. It's not really that bad though. Still plenty of pickup after, I don't know, I thought it was a 1.5 mile trail, but it seemed like it was much more than that. Anyway, I'll edit some more video onto this and we'll